Does the PCSO participate in civil asset forfeiture? If so, should we or should we stop? And Steve, you're first. And if you want the question, I can hand it off.
So, civil asset forfeiture, again, I think this is a question that a lot of us anyway have talked about already previously and answered before, but to my knowledge, the Sheriff's Office is currently not participating in civil asset forfeiture. So, does that mean the Sheriff's Office should? Does that mean the Sheriff's Office shouldn't? I don't really know how to answer that question because I'm not sure that there's a right answer and a wrong answer. I think there's benefits, at least looking at it from an administrative standpoint with civil asset forfeiture. This could very well benefit the Sheriff's Office in bringing in more funds. But I think the Sheriff's Office could do a very similar thing in seeking grant funding, which there's a lot of state money out there, there's a lot of federal money out there, and while that's not a reliable source of money coming into the Sheriff's Office that could be counted on each and every year to budget for specific items, I think that bringing grant money into the Sheriff's Office from the state and federal level is one of the best options that we have to look at in order to move the money that's currently in the budget around to meet some of the needs that we have, some of the needs that all of us have talked about this evening, like increasing what we pay our deputies. That's very important. That's going to be a difficult battle. It's going to be difficult to get the Park County Sheriff's Office competitive wage-wise with similar surrounding agencies to us. That's not something that's going to be easy to do. But in the meantime, there's a lot of other things that can be done to improve the quality of work life of the employees at the Sheriff's Office. We don't have a great retirement plan. We basically have a 401k right now that we pay into, the county pays into, and my time is up, so thank you.
Let's see, so excited.
I
Monty, yeah, you're.
Well, there's a lot of debate going on right now in the United States about civil asset forfeiture. And in the past, what happened is agencies would go after, say like drug dealers, things like that. And if those individuals were convicted, some of the assets, if there were monies found or if there were property found, those assets could be seized if it was determined to be part of an illegal operation. And those assets could be divided. Usually on a big operation like that, you have the feds involved and the state involved, and you have your agency involved. And those assets would actually be divided up among those jurisdictions. In the recently, there have been a lot of reports of abuses in asset forfeiture, where law enforcement agencies, rather than keeping the eye on doing the right thing, will go after people and take assets when they shouldn't be doing that. And there's been cases where I've actually read where individuals who had cash on their person were stopped by law enforcement. The cash was to purchase a home. People didn't believe in banks, and because law enforcement thought it was suspicious, they ended up seizing those funds. And it took this individual citizen months and months and months to get his money back. Everything he was doing was legal, and he had to spend a lot of money in court doing that. So I'm not real sure I would be an advocate of civil asset forfeiture for those reasons. And looks like I am out of time. Thank you.
Well, in 16 years of working in the drug unit, I have seized well over $1 million in assets. I am very much for seizing assets. If we have a cocaine dealer driving through town and he's got $100,000 in a briefcase and we've got a kilo of cocaine on him, he is not going somewhere to buy a new house. Okay? We seize that money and we put it into use at the sheriff's office. It cannot go to salaries. It usually will only go to something sort of equipment and so forth. We had a sheriff that we had a very good checks and balances in place when we seized money from people. We made sure that we were not abusing the system, because it has been abused and it will continue to be abused. But if you have the right leadership in place that understands what you're going to do with that money and how it was seized, then you won't have an abuse like that. We had one particular case where we had a deputy had stopped a vehicle. It was a man driving. He had gone down South Florida, picked up a kilo of cocaine, came back up and got caught with it. The vehicle was in his wife and his name. We interviewed the wife. She didn't know anything about it. The car was, she had bought the car. She had kids. She was going back and forth to work, dropping off the kids with the car. We gave the car back to her. But we gave her a letter so that she acknowledged that if we seized that car again, then we were going to keep it this time. It was her responsibility at that time to make sure that her husband did not go off once he got out of prison and deal drugs again. So the sheriff has to be responsible to know when to seize it. It is a very valuable tool for law enforcement when used properly. You can have large amounts of money coming in that will help you in your department, and I firmly believe in doing it, as long as it is done properly. And I will make sure, because I have seized so much stuff, we've never had a problem with it. We've always been, you know, there's a system in place on how it works and how you seize it, and we have never had an issue with seizing drugs for money. Thank you. Money for drugs.
It sounds like it could be a problem.
Yeah.
Again, that's a pretty touchy situation there. Again, I tend to lean to the effect of if that person's using that property, money, to further their criminal activity, it should be seized. But with that being said, you got to be very careful. You know, you don't want to violate their constitutional rights. But again, you don't want them to further their criminal activity by the merchandise, property, money that they've already attained illegally. Now, I haven't been employed with the Park County Sheriff's Department, but as a state trooper, if we would stop you in a motor vehicle and you use that vehicle in a felony, vehicular homicide, for example, and you stole that car, we would seize that car. And by doing that, you would enter that car again. You would have the capability of attaining that vehicle. But again, very, very sticky situation. Because again, you can't violate the right, I don't think, by we as your sheriff telling our deputies to go out and seize someone's property illegally and violating their rights. Again, we're going to be sued. Park County's got a lot of lawsuits. And again, I think that starts with leadership. As your sheriff will guarantee you that they will be trained. They will know when they can and cannot confiscate that property. But again, we're not going to let these people further their criminal activity by allowing them to keep what they have attained illegally. I hope that makes sense to you. But again, I will not allow my deputies to violate your right or anyone else's right. But again, I'm not going to allow them to further their criminal activity by what they've already attained illegally. Thank you.
In the past, Park County had actually involved themselves in doing that. There was a case a lot of years ago in which we recovered, I think, I'm just guessing, I think it's between $150,000 to $200,000, which actually helped the bottom line of the sheriff's office. You put in a fund that buys safety equipment and guns and all that kind of stuff, and it really did help that aspect of it. Now with Colorado's laws, though, it's changed. When you do seize, a lot of it goes to the state, is my understanding with it. That law has changed. So does it reflect on our budget? Will a lot of it go towards that budget? Probably not. And, my problem with asset seizure forfeiture is that the possibility of going after an innocent person's money and having that government intrusion into that. I don't like that. I think that's a bailiwick that's on which that I really don't, as a sheriff, want to go down that aspect of it. Do I want criminals to stop their behavior? Yes. And can it help a department? Yes. But I think that does not outweigh, or does that cause government to go after that innocent person or take that person's property wrongfully. I don't like that aspect of that. So I would actually not go towards the asset forfeiture aspect of law enforcement. Maybe not. So I know we're running out of time, about 15 seconds in that, so thank you.
So if you want to go ahead with the 1 minute.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
I really like one of the things that John said about civil asset forfeiture. And I think one of the real issues that I see with it is, it's almost like a punitive action against someone before they've had their day in court, so to speak, before they've been convicted of anything, before they've had their chance to have their case go in front of the court, either a judge or a jury of their peers. And it's like law enforcement is seizing your property because they believe it's being used in a criminal enterprise without due process. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the way that our justice system has been set up to work. And maybe we don't have the perfect justice system here, but it's better than anything else that exists in the world right now. And I think we need to get back to the basics of those things and not punish people before they've had the opportunity to, be innocent until proven guilty in a court of law by a judge or a jury of their peers.
We're doing 1 minute again.
Once again, folks, I do think that's kind of a slippery slope. One of the reasons a lot of sheriffs and law enforcement executives and chiefs throughout the nation now are really taking a serious note of this is because there have been abuses. And that's one thing that we don't want to do. And I do believe in the due process as well. And as far as taking a bad guy off the road, if we're doing our job right, we're convicting that individual, we are prosecuting that individual, and we're sending them to prison. And that's the due process, and that's part of the criminal justice system in the United States. Taking somebody's personal property before they know whether they're innocent or guilty, and forcing that individual to spend thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of dollars to get their stuff back when they have done no wrong, I think is wrong. And I think that is abuse, and I think as a leader, I wouldn't go there. Thank you.
Well, again, I guess I'm the only one that's for it, but it's because I've seen the system used properly, and I've seen it work fairly. And it has, like I said before, it has been used improperly, but because I have been involved in it so much, I know when things should be seized. I cannot justify having a drug dealer that is making thousands of dollars be allowed to keep all his property and go to jail. I cannot condone that. He's or she is selling drugs on the street or whatever they're doing to make money. I cannot condone letting that person keep that money. We had a guy that tried to get through the airport with $75,000 duct taped to his legs. Do you think that he's doing something legal with that money? We took it, we seized it, we gave him a receipt for it, and we sent him on his way. He never called us to get the money back. So it can be used properly. And as a sheriff, you are the ultimate one that has the decision whether or not it's going to be seized.
Again, it comes back to training, education, leadership, teaching the deputies how to do the job. Due process. If due process is served, that person is going to further his criminal activity by letting him keep that property. I don't believe in that. I think we need to confiscate that property as long as due process has been served. You not violate their rights, due process. You not violate their rights, they're not going to further their criminal activity. You don't have it any longer. Pretty cut and dry. Thank you.
Again, I really think that at this point, the laws have been changed in the state of Colorado, so if we do have this type of seizure, it does not go really to the bottom line of our county sheriff's office budget. Do we need to stop the criminal activity? Yes. But I certainly don't want to, again, have the lawsuits that have been mentioned, that sort of thing, and go ahead and take any property without due process is a big deal for me. And I think at this point with that, it doesn't really help the sheriff's office because of the way the law is. And it'd be a tough one to really enforce within Park County. Thank you.
Does everyone need to stand up and wiggle or something?
Sure.
Everyone do that.
We don't need peas.
Yeah.